So this is the fifth edition of ESMA's report on quality and use of data. And for those of you who have followed our work, you might remember that originally started as a report on the quality of the data. But as the use of regulatory data has been extending, ESMA and also as part of our data strategy, we have continuously increased the scope of what we share with you in an attempt, obviously, to facilitate and to expand and extend the knowledge on the way in which the regulatory community uses data. Why this is relevant? The first and most important element is that the regulatory data comes at a cost. And as regulatory data comes at a cost, we, as public authorities, need to make sure that this data is used in the best interest of the citizens of the Union. So from that perspective, we have prepared this year's report with several novelties. But before going into them, I would like to present you a very quick fact sheet just to get a glimpse on how much data exists currently and how much data, at least we have been working on in the last year. This is obviously not all the data on which we have worked, but an important part of it. So here you have the figures, and you could see that in the last year we had been seeing an important changes in the landscape. EMIR, which is the most widely used reporting regime, so also it's one of its most important rewrites in 2024, and we're going to have those of you who have read the report have seen that we have a dedicated section on that. Also on SFTR, we have been seeing that the data volumes have been increasing. Of course, repos are important instruments during financial crisis, but also securities lending have been particularly important when speaking about different movements in the global economy. On the MiFIR side, we have been seeing also increase in the volumes, and this is mainly and primarily caused by the increase in the trading of the so-called fractional shares instruments, which are make access to the big stocks, to the blue chips, much more accessible for the general public, and of course this obviously has an important effects on the also the nature and the macro structure of those markets. Securitization, also, as you know, this is also one of the priorities in the current for the current commission. So also there we have seen some increases, though the numbers, as you see, still remain in the very in the hundreds, not in thousands or tens of thousands of securitization. On the fund side, the situation has been rather stable, whereas we have included in this new edition of our report two new data sets, short selling and ESEF, and there we have been we have included some figures about also for you all the readers of the report to know, let's say, the extent and the scope and the volumes of data which are included. So with that one, I would suggest that we move to the report. You have obviously seen what is the structure of the report, and in this session we would pay primarily attention to the key projects with significant data use, and also to the information that was primarily important in the go live of EMIR Refit, but also one of the first major deliverables in terms of tangible outcomes on simplification and burden reduction. If we can move on. Before that, just a short reminder, and again, those of you who have seen or who have followed our publications, you have seen that every time and with every edition, and I checked it too, we have been expanding the uses of data. And when couple of years ago, we were thinking that obviously with monitoring of the trends and risk, monitoring of exposures, infrastructures and participants, key supervisory tasks, detection of market abuse, monitoring of asset classes or legal obligations would be sufficient, then as part also of ESMA data strategy, we expanded the use of data to further support the policy and to even better support the policy making. But also in this last year, in line with of course the ever evolving policy and regulatory landscape, we have also supported, and we would continue supporting a lot on the simplification and burden reduction in the reporting arena. Needless to say that data is widely used, and as I mentioned, this is one of the key reasons for us to continue extending our preach on data. Many of the data sets are used in our day-to-day work. And we pay indeed an important attention on how good also the quality of that information is, because this is a key element for us to make the best decisions possible. So let's go to the practical examples as we mentioned. This is indeed one of the key topics of the report. In the second half of 2024, as part of the obviously the move towards burden reduction and simplification, ESMA staff performed a proof of concept to test the possibility to use transaction data to perform transparency and volume cap calculations, which are calculations extremely relevant for liquidity purposes, extremely relevant to ensure the smooth trading on the markets. So based on obviously and having extremely excellent people at ESMA, we managed through several rounds to fine-tune methodology to address different shortcomings that were identified, and to make sense of the data, and indeed prove that in having one data set and taking advantage of the technology to which we have access now, which already in the previous edition of our report, we made a particular emphasis on the ESMA data platform. We can indeed perform much more complex tasks and make much better use of the data that we have. In what it translated, it translates in particular in the fact that ESMA would start reducing and decommissioning some of the flows that exist currently, and by virtue of that, obviously producing certain savings, and last but not least, reducing administrative and reporting burden for market participants. Obviously, this puts somehow more the burden on the regulatory side, and this is also where, of course, this would need to be covered to make sure that, of course, we, and as we mentioned, have data of pristine quality to facilitate those calculations. We have put in place also data quality engagement framework, which covers the most important elements to facilitate the transparency and volume cap calculations. Also, in the nice charts on the left-hand side, you could see also how our also processing of the data and our analysis evolved, and how in couple of months we managed to achieve extremely high figures of consistency between the two data sets. And even in the areas where we didn't have such level of consistency, the reasons for that were clearly defined and clearly identified. So they definitely would be in the process of being addressed by ESMA staff, and in our indeed very fruitful cooperation with the national competent authorities, which happens through the data quality engagement frameworks, but which also happens and it's further facilitated by the new data platform that ESMA has, which had the original name of Project Share. Indeed, the objective was to further facilitate and increase the collaboration and cooperation among authorities. Here you have a very well presented snapshot of what are the most important aspects of that platform. We kicked it off in Q2 last year. It is leveraging on our big data solution, and of course at this stage has allowed the 30 European Economic Area NCAs and the TUESAs to be onboarded on it. We have more than 250 users there, and as the first two areas on which we work there were data quality and dashboards for the two major regimes. Obviously, as you can imagine, this year MiFIR data quality engagement framework also is going to be information on the MiFIR data quality engagement framework also is going to be shared through that platform. And as important, we have also used the so-called code sharing functionality of the platform to onboard subtech projects, which is an extremely important tool to mutualize and resources across the regulatory community in a way, form and shape which facilitates and increases obviously the collaboration between the regulatory community and the colleagues from the different competent authorities, so that we don't need to reinvent the wheel every time. Most of the problems that we face in our day-to-day supervisory, policy, or analytical life in the regulatory community are already being faced by someone, and we are aware that there are solutions. We have included here that there are currently 12 subtech projects there. Actually, yesterday I checked, we have increased up to 17. So there is indeed an exponential growth on that side. And in the slide, you could see that which are the areas which are covered, which I would expect that they would sound to everyone as the most important areas or some of the most important areas for the regulatory community, like market abuse detection, text mining for ESG, but obviously text mining can be for many other areas. Automatic feedback emails, which obviously facilitates and automates a lot our life and the interactions with the supervised entities. The next big development last year was EMIR Refit, and indeed, as you have seen in the report, there were important efforts by the whole regulatory community, and I would say there were also very important efforts by the industry. We had a rather successful go live of the regime. Indeed, in the beginning of in the first days, there were some hiccups, which obviously then, as you have seen, were quickly adjusted. And indeed, at this stage, we remain at rather business as usual rates of rejections of the reports. Indeed, EMIR Refit was a major, to remind, it's a major revamp and overhaul of the reporting framework. It included two important elements. First one, ESMA and the competent authority implemented the global standards on critical data elements, and introduced also end-to-end XML reporting regime. What it would mean, contrary to the previous state where data was standardized only from the trade repositories towards ESMA. In this occasion, the data arrives to the trade repositories also in XML format, thus limiting any risks to it on the data transformation. The second important aspect that came with Refit was a rather novel reporting requirement. Novel in the sense that entities were mandated to update their records of derivatives to the new requirements. For all those derivatives which remained outstanding, i.e. open interest, open risk in the union, entities had to upgrade the records and make them to be aligned with the most recent requirements. From that perspective, indeed, the process also experimented several hiccups. However, based on information that and the analysis that we have been conducted in ESMA, by end of February, the number of non-updated or not upgraded records was rather limited in the range of 2%. And obviously there is an important, of course, message to all those entities which have not yet had time to do that, to please finalize the upgrades of records, given that they are important for you. The information that is required there, it's important for you, and it's obviously important for the regulatory community, and this is why obviously it was requested. I will not bore you with specific or more detailed, in-depth analysis of the chart that you have seen in the report. The data quality indicators are key tool, just to remind, a key tool for us in the regulatory community to monitor the state of the quality of the information that reaches us. And indeed, the ones which are linked also to pairing and reconciliation are key to assess how good or bad the entities report to us. Therefore, figures which have double digits obviously give us put us in a very bad situation in the sense that we have or can have less trust in the data when we analyze certain records. So from that perspective, indeed, there has been important push also from our side, from NCA side, to reduce those levels. You have seen that for at least the indicators which are linked to reconciliation, there have been indeed a downward trend, which we expect to continue happening. However, in the case of evaluations, indeed, there is still quite an important room for improvement. And information on valuation, it's also critical information for the assessment of the exposures. Therefore, both ESMA, NCAs, but similarly the Systemic Risk Board, etc., are paying quite a close attention to that data. And of course, ESMA and NCAs try to put all the effort to make sure that the information reaches us on a timely fashion. One point that I maybe forgot to mention, but you have seen in the report, was that as part of our outreach, as part of the efforts of the regulatory community to spread the word on all that we do with the data, but also what are our expectations with data, we have been publishing the data quality engagement frameworks for all major reporting regimes. And obviously there, this has double function. Obviously, first provide transparency on what we're doing, but secondly, and most importantly, also make sure that the market participants, the supervised entities, are aware of what they have to do and where they have to fix their reporting. Then if we continue with SFTR, there the situation, it's indeed more business as usual. This was obviously the second reporting regime on which also we started sharing quality indicators through the data platform, and there the most important probably aspect on which we should look is again the reconciliation and the data quality indicators which are linked to reconciliation, where indeed the levels are far from the acceptable thresholds that we have defined. Therefore, indeed there is still room there for entities to make sure that they report in a timely fashion, and most importantly, as is the case of such a double-sided reporting regime, that they agree on the number of records that they report with their counterparty. On the side of ARMS and APAS, as you can see in the charts, rejection rates are rather low, and on average they are very much in line with the ones that we observe also as in the business as usual situation for EMIR and SFTR. However, on the APA side, there were couple of issues which were mainly related to some particular operational issues at customers, which obviously led to rejections by the APAs of such data. Then in terms of the publication time for APA, which is another metric which we are closely following, this has remained in extremely good shape, and all delays or major delays were only extended when there was some specific issues on the APA side, but this definitely was indeed rather controlled and at very low, still remains at very low levels. Moving to securitization, there probably the most important, there are two important elements to highlight. First one is the steady increase of the number of outstanding deals, which you have seen in the chart. But the second one is the use of no data option, which unfortunately remains rather high. So this is an area where indeed there should be further effort by the entities reporting that information to reduce those levels, because any record with the use of ND option automatically leads to less information available to the authorities, but also less information which the entity can use its own risk management processes. For funds, we have in the last year we had two major developments too. The data quality engagement frameworks, they were updated. They followed much more a risk-based approach, and we also increased the frequency of the data quality cycles. This was to address the low levels of data quality issues being addressed. So the plan was indeed to refocus on the most important entities. Still, we have an important room for improvement there, and we are rather honest, and this is also something that we have discussed with the competent authorities, that indeed there is an important need to step up on some of the actions and to increase the correction rates to indeed make sure that the quality of the information that is being reported and by extension its use can be further increased. Short selling, it's a new data set that for which we speak in this report, and you have seen something which, at least for us at ESMA, was extremely pleasing information, which was As soon as ESMA staff started sharing information with the competent authorities on the completeness of information reported to us on short selling, the authorities submitting that information started addressing issues. And in the first 2 months of it, basically you have seen in the heat map that almost all jurisdictions became green, i.e. with very low level of missing information. And the last jurisdiction, which still was experimenting problems, has started to report information, and it's obviously in the process of cleaning the backlog. So this is one would say that this is quite an important information. The quality of it is extremely relevant. The information on short selling and net short positions in particular is a key element in our decision making, and it's key information which we follow, particularly at the time of market turbulences. As you all are aware, in the recent months, there have been quite some turbulences or turmoils on the market caused by, of course, different trade patterns and trade policies between the US, European Union, China, etc. And all those put at strain the financial markets and leading, obviously, in the case of the imposition of tariffs to certain companies, for the market participants to be shorting certain securities. So from that perspective, indeed, the completeness and the quality of this information was key, and obviously the effort that we put also then helped a lot in us being able to monitor in a more structured way the impact on the European markets. ESEF is the last data set about which I'm going to be speaking particularly. This was yet another data set on which we started our work in 2024. It is, and there indeed our work focused primarily on increase the usability and accessibility of this data. For that, we developed obviously a code which can read and extract information from the XBRL files, load it on our database, and then perform certain analytical work. There, the important obviously aspect is that the European single electronic format is the way in which financial annual accounts by issuers are being provided in the European Union. Therefore, indeed, increasing further the usability and accessibility of this data was key for us, and also to facilitate, and as I mentioned before, to further increase the mutualization and customization of the mutualization of the efforts. We have been sharing also the codes developed at ESMA with the regulatory community. Obviously, we're also considering there to what extent it would make sense to share it more broadly. And in 2025, we would continue and expand our work further, moving from the statement of financial position to some of the other financial statements, so that we can indeed further increase the usability of this data. One would say that the supervision of data quality is an important matter, and we have discussed in the last 20 minutes our efforts and all the tools that we have for monitoring that. But in addition to the supervision and monitoring of the quality of the information, and indeed increasing the use of the data across all for many mandates, as is clearly evidenced in our report, we have also included in this report a section which we expect to continue to retain and to have further information on that one, on the reporting, on the sanctions related particularly to reporting. And as you could see in the report, there is obviously a different way in which the different competent authorities have taken their supervisory duties. Some of them, as also explained in the report, take less formal actions, i.e. using much more the moral suasion and other supervisory tools to make sure that the supervised entities comply with the existing requirements. Some others, however, have taken more formal actions, and indeed they have imposed sanctions. There is obviously one particular area, and this is, of course, MiFIR transaction reporting has been indeed the area where most sanctions have been applied, and this is indeed also an essential data set which competent authorities monitor quite closely because this supports the monitoring of market abuse. The discussion that also we have had, and this is also what is highlighted in the report, that indeed also on that aspect there is still further room for convergence among the regulatory community in terms of let's say using the enforcement and sanctioning powers, saving, of course, the distances with the national markets, and the fact that indeed also different behaviors can be addressed through different tools. And with that, we go to the section of next steps on data quality and use. So what is for us in 2025? There are, as you have seen in the report, there are couple of areas on which we plan to focus this year. Needless to say that we would continue stepping up on the mutualization of codes and on ensuring further enhancement of the collaboration in the regulatory community with competent authorities, central banks, other agencies, etc. We'll be definitely working to implement the transparency calculations and the volume cap calculations on the transaction data, and this is a key deliverable for this year. Continue cooperating with NCA's repositories, the RSPs, reporting entities, securitization repositories, and so on and so forth, to make sure that the quality of the information increases. Definitely in 2025, we would have we mentioned EMIR SFTR, but I would say also MiFIR transaction data is going to be in our focus. The data under EMIR import is, as we have mentioned multiple times, and first it's extremely voluminous. With the EMIR Refit rewrite, it become even richer, and also it's the data set which is most widely used in the Union. So from that perspective, indeed, any effort to make it better and to improve the quality of the information there would be would have an important benefits for everyone. And also in 2025, our ESMA plans to revamp or adapt its data strategy, which we published in 2023, to further obviously reflecting it the let's say the fast pace at which the technological landscape evolves. The use of generative AI, it's obviously on one of the top positions, but also we'll be focusing on putting further efforts on the simplification and burden reduction, and in particular on the way in which existing data at the disposal of the regulatory community can lead to reduced burden, reduced overlaps, and indeed create more value for the regulatory community and for the entities, which has been, as you know, one of the key mantras that we have always been repeating. The data that is reported to us is not only for us, for the regulatory community. The regulatory data and the supervisory data that is reported to us should also be and continue used by the entities. So from that perspective, reducing duplications or reducing overlaps between reporting regimes, which lead to inconsistency and to duplication of the reporting system and entities, obviously is going to have a clear and tangible benefit. One is the consistency, but the other one obviously would be the cost savings. So with that, I would finish the presentation. A big thank you to all the team on our side. Big thank you to Sylvia, who coordinated the report, to all the colleagues in the Data Intelligence and Statistics Unit, all the colleagues at ESMA who also contributed to the report. You have seen very rich sections about the use of data on which I expect you have looked at them. Obviously, they reflect something that already has been published. So for us, the effort was to make sure that indeed this is all available in one place, and indeed to our colleagues in communications who make this session happen. So now we are ready, I guess, Christina, to start taking questions.
Yes, we are. We can go to the, just a second. Yeah. We can go to the first one. It's from Samina Jacob. How closely are regulators monitoring collateral and valuation data quality indicators such as missing valuations, outdated data, and timeliness?
Maybe I will take the question, so just to avoid the echo here. So let me open the Q&A tool and we go with it. So the questions are ordered in most recent first, or how do we do it?
We can go in order. This was the first one, so you can start going up.
Okay. So there is a question from how closely are regulators monitoring the collateral and valuation data quality indicators. This is part of the data quality indicators, as we mentioned, which we follow very closely. The information on those data quality indicators is shared currently in an automatic way with the competent authorities on a monthly basis. Therefore, this is information which is available to all of them, and indeed, as we have mentioned, the levels there are rather high, which it's a worrying signal for us. So indeed, we would expect indeed important improvements in the coming months in that area. Deborah Anzaidi. We welcome ESMA's commitment to reducing reporting burdens and simplifying the overall regulatory framework. In this context, do you think that the ESMA data platform share platform could be a potential tool also to support the reduction of national reporting requirements? As you know, national reporting is in addition to EU level requirements and often serves not only national supervisory purposes, but also statistical and analytical needs of institutions such as ECB. I think there are two different questions there. The first one is whether ESMA data platform can support or can be used for burden reduction. Our understanding is yes, and that's one of the reasons to have, let's say, a powerful cloud-based solution to be able to indeed support better use of the data, increase data sharing among authorities, increased collaboration on common projects, increased reuse of the available data, and so on and so forth. So that's the first part of it. The second part of the question is whether the different national level reporting regimes on top of the EU level reporting regimes can be streamlined. As you're aware, the Commission, as part also of the SIU and simplification burden reduction, has several initiatives in place. So from that perspective, indeed, any type of updates or streamlining of the regulatory framework needs to come first through the legislative path. So the technology there can help, but obviously, first and utmost, there should be the legislative agreement that this could happen. Speaking about ECB, we have indeed very, very good collaboration with our colleagues at ECB and ESRB, and I think this is also well evidenced in the report that you have read. So also on that side, we try to increase our collaboration and the sharing of data among the two institutions with as much as possible. Obviously, ECB, it's a major user of EMIR and SFTR data, but we're also looking in some other use cases. We share with them, they have access to funds data. We share also securitization information, which is relevant for their mandates, and so on and so forth. So indeed, there are already some arrangements in place, but indeed, the type of regulatory overhaul that you're talking would need legislative changes, which we understand that the Commission is looking quite closely into, and obviously taking steps in that regard. So there is a question. The DQF document for short selling mentions to flag outliers. ESMA calculates a confidence interval by measuring the moving average of the number of shares reported per position date over the last 20 business days. Does the number of shares mean the number of ISINs reported per position date, or the total number of shares calculated based on the percentage not share position of the issued capital? It is the, I would think it's the first one, but maybe we can take this question, which is extremely detailed and on which I would need to rely on my short selling colleagues to reply. I believe it's the number of shares. It's the number of the number of physical shares the number of not of ISINs, but the number of shares which are being reported. But definitely on that question, I think we can also take it offline and revert to the colleague, or further specified in the data quality framework. So for EMIR reporting, when it is a delegated setup, do the NCAs ESMA expect the entity responsible to report to set up the 17 DQIs at their level, or the entity responsible for reporting should receive them from the delegates in order to perform an appropriate oversight? So that was one of the important changes in EMIR Refit, and also to a certain extent replicated the situation which existed for some time in SFTR. And it is here obviously where the information, also you have seen it in the data quality framework, it's calculated at the level of the entity responsible for reporting. So it is, at least it's our expectation that, and that's the reason for us to share the data quality indicators with the broader community, that the entities also are able to monitor themselves where they stand, and be able to compute that information themselves. The position of the entity responsible for reporting is extremely relevant, because this, by virtue of the way in which EMIR reporting requirements are set up, is the entity which indeed has the responsibility to report the transactions, besides obviously the counterparty which is exposed to it. So indeed there is an expectation that, at least from the side of ESMA and the national competent authorities, that entities responsible for reporting are also able to monitor the data quality indicators which are relevant for those entities, and are able to address issues in timely manner. Okay. I see now some different questions, although they seem in slightly different order now. What is causing the increase in missing valuations for EMIR reporting DQI 5A? Well, this is indeed part of the supervisory engagement that we have. As we have also indicated in the report, 2024 was a year of transition. We wanted, before start triggering the framework, etc., our expectation was that entities fine-tune their systems, trade repository, address relevant observed misbehaviors of their systems, and only towards the end of the year we trigger the framework. Indeed, it's as I mentioned, for us it's a critical area which need to be addressed. In addition to that, also the entities are receiving that information. So the information on outdated valuation currently under EMIR is included into a report of missing valuations, which where we are giving basically two weeks, 14 days for the entities before they include in that report. It's a warning signal indeed, and it's one of the areas which we have discussed with NCAs. Obviously, this is a data quality indicator which is beyond the grade level of 5%, and it is one of the areas in which we understand NCAs are working. We are currently analyzing the feedback from the first round of the data quality engagement framework this year, and then based on the results and the discussion with the competent authorities, we would consider what further actions should be taken to make sure that indeed this extremely relevant piece of information is available to us. So the figures presented seem to suggest that the current quality of transaction reporting, this is Ambra Moshini, is sufficient to support effective supervision. In this context, why does the RTS 22 proposal under the MiFIR review aim to nearly double the number of data fields required? What concrete benefits are expected from such an expansion, particularly when market abuse surveillance is already deemed effective based on the existing dataset? We note, for instance, that in its own reporting, ESMA considers transaction data quality to be high enough to justify the removal of filters, which raises further questions about the need for additional data elements. I think in the consultation paper, the reasons to include additional fields were clearly explained. This being said, I think also ESMA has received the feedback from market participants, and this will be assessed as part of the regulatory process. We should also consider another important element. Indeed, the quality of the transaction data transaction data will be used to support transparency calculations and volume cap. Of course, also ESMA and the regulatory community in general, it's mindful when any additional field it's added. But we also know that whenever there is a regulatory change, the difference between adding 5 fields, it's not so significant. Obviously, both of them require changes. The quality of transaction data is high, and we know that would remain high also because of the efforts that we're putting there. The efforts that the NCAs are putting, and indeed also because we expect its use to continue growing. So from that perspective, indeed, we'll be making as much as possible out of it. Then in terms of the regulatory changes, I hope and I expect that the market participants has replied to the consultation which ESMA conducted, and as I mentioned, this is going to be obviously and is being considered as part of the finalization of those requirements. Point by Erasmus Egbedia. In light of the upcoming MiFID rewrite, what are some of the initiatives to deal with the data quality issues compared to previous versions, and how can firms, MiFID report preparers, get ready for this? I would probably keep this question for once we have more clarity on the rewrites. But I understand that some of the, let's say, very easy ways in which companies can prepare for, and this is also what we have been advocating for the last 10 years probably, is the first and most importantly liaise with your national competent authorities. The national competent authorities are your gateway to the reporting regimes. Also, MiFID data, as you know, it's reported to the national competent authorities and then arrives to ESMA. And from that perspective, they organize a lot of workshops, a lot of conferences in which particular aspects are being discussed. Then whenever there are also some such events, also on ESMA side, you know that we organize market-wide outreaches jointly with NCAs to clarify some of the requirements, to have a roundtable, to collect further input, etc. So these are the best ways. I follow with the NCAs and indeed follow ESMA's publications and any of the ESMA document, statement, news items which might come. Is it possible to clarify when will the data quality engagement framework start for EMIR, SFTR and EMIR? The data quality engagement framework for both reporting regimes are already in place, and they are working. As I mentioned, we are sharing data on a monthly basis with the competent authorities through the data platform, and obviously we are discussing with them which of the data quality indicators should be triggered, so that indeed the triggering would mean that then NCAs would reach out to the entities and follow up with them to the resolution of the observed data quality issues. Equity-like FITRs reporting, it's phased out by 1st January 2026 and 26. Do you have target dates for the end of non-equity FITRs and DV cap submissions? On that one, I would simply say that we are publishing on a regular basis statements with regards to the different regimes. So I would definitely defer our listener to follow the different public statement that we have published there. But indeed, the idea is to be as expedient as possible to let's say in the discontinuations where it's relevant and where it's possible. For double volume cap submissions, for sure, we do have already a date which we have published in a public statement in one of our reports, which, if my mind doesn't play again to me, it's 30th of September. And for non-equity, obviously this should be this is dependent on some of the RTSs which are still to be adopted. Okay, let's see now the new posts. Can you give any insight at all if there will be an SFTR review at some point, and if so, when may that be, please? Thank you first for the please, which is nice to hear. As you know, let's say the rewrite of reporting regimes or the reviews of reporting regimes are a mandate of the European Commission. Therefore, this is a question which is much better suited for them. This being said, obviously, you can understand that in the SIU, as part of the SIU, we do expect that the Commission would be taking or would be making some assessment on the relevant reporting regimes which might require rewrite, etc. So from that perspective, I can only advise to reach out to the European Commission, our participant of this webinar. We have another one. Can you indicate when the RTS of the FMD review for FMD reporting will be published? As far as I am aware, on this one I would need to actually speak to colleagues, because this is another question that it's not fully under my control, so I would need to follow up afterwards on it. Okay, I don't see more questions, Christina. I think this is it. So again, I wanted to thank to everyone also for today, for following us, also for the good questions. As I mentioned, we take note of the two of them to which I could not provide the response, and we would also follow up with the relevant colleagues internally to provide an answer to those. With that one, we would close the webinar for today. Thanks again a lot for your time, and have a lovely continuation of the day. Bye bye.